Yeah, Chris LaRue, you have a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Dr. Block thinks that Bitcoin violates Menger's regression theorem, and if it is indeed an expansion of the medium of exchange, inflation, and if so, is he for that or against it? I guess.
First of all, before I answer the question, let me just say, please feel free to call me Walter. That's my name. And, Dr. Block sounds so off-putting and whatever. I'm just one of the boys, one of the libertarian crew. I may be older than most of you guys, and I've contributed more to it because I am older and I've been in the movement since 1965. But I'm still Walter. So please call me Walter. Now, with regards to Bitcoin, before answering that question, let me say that if there were a choice between a gold standard and Bitcoin, I would choose gold standard because Menger's theory certainly operates there. And if it was a choice between Bitcoin and U.S. fiat currency, I would certainly pick Bitcoin. Having said that, because Bitcoin isn't based on anything coercive as far as I can see. Now to answer the question, as a professor, I'm never supposed to answer questions directly. I'm always supposed to dance around them for a while, so I've danced. I think Bitcoin is a violation of the Mengerian theory, and I think that the Mengerian theory is correct, and I don't think that the Bitcoin is really a money. Certainly it wouldn't be a money if we had freedom. It might become a money if under present status conditions where, if we have a hyperinflation in the U.S. like we did in Germany in 1923 or in Zimbabwe, maybe people will start using Bitcoin as a money, but it's not really a fair comparison. It's not really fair to say Menger was wrong because Menger was talking about, a free market situation. And if the government is going to so screw up things that it won't allow gold and somehow its fiat currency goes by the board and we use Bitcoin, well, then I would call Bitcoin not a money, but a quasi-money or something like that. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. I do think that if we had a regime of freedom and Bitcoin erupted and we were on a gold standard, 100% backed, no fractional reserve gold standard, I don't think Bitcoin would have a chance. Nobody would use it. We would all use gold and that would be it. So I sort of, that's why they call me Walter Moderate Block, because I have a moderate position on this. I favor Bitcoin as a quasi-money. I don't think it's a money, but I don't think it's not I don't think it has nothing to do with money either. Obviously, it does ameliorate the exchange.
No, good answer. I think we all agree with you. I think at the same time, I still, me and Chris differ on Bitcoin. I have no issue with people using it if they want to. It's a voluntary unit, and as long as the state here, I think it can have some function, although it does come with some challenges. Obviously, it's pseudo-anonymous, not fully anonymous. Obviously, it has no industrial use, so it has no real value. Not that anything has, per se, intrinsic value, but that really does matter as far as industrial use.
Well, I wanted to follow up on Bitcoin.
Okay.
Especially the quasi-money comment, and I appreciate you being so friendly. But I was just saying, we both seem to agree that it violates Menger's regression theorem, which I'm going to throw out there that I think it's because it was not a pre-existing commodity on the market when it was, quote, monetized. The second thing is that it was centrally designed, and thrown out there instead of, according to Menger's theory, or developing organically through becoming the most sellable good, the most saleable good on the market. And gradually people realize that it's better, they can get what they want through indirect exchange through this commodity easier than another, in which case a lot of times another commodity is demonetized at the same time. And the other thing is, isn't that, we also seem to agree that it only exists because they've suppressed gold. And my question, I guess, and I think this is the biggest one, doesn't that make it by definition malinvestment?
Doesn't make what? Bitcoin malinvestment?
Yes, if it only exists because of the fiat and the artificially lowered interest rates and the counterfeiting and all the rest, isn't that by definition malinvestment?
Yeah, well, I think it's malinvestment, and I think that it is contrary to the Menger's theory. Look, let me give you an example. When my kids were small, we had a babysitting co-op, and there were 5 couples, and the wives had to go babysit, and the husbands would stay home with their own kids, and that we would keep records as to who babysat for whom, right? And like if you babysat on a Saturday night, you'd get 2 credits, or if you babysat on a Wednesday night, you'd get 1 credit. And we had, I don't know what, credits, babysitting credits. Now, conceivably, we could have used those babysitting credits for money. Like 4 credits could have got you, I don't know, not a hot dog, but maybe a TV or something. I don't know the rate of exchange. But the point is that we could have used that as money, or as a quasi-money. But the idea of money is something that is generally accepted. Now, if you go to McDonald's with a Bitcoin, even if the government weren't hassling the Bitcoin people now, McDonald's is not going to generally accept the Bitcoin. My prognostication is that the fiat currency would have to get way, way worse before Bitcoin would be accepted. Now, maybe if Bitcoin was in existence in Germany in 1923, when the mark was, a wheelbarrow full of marks got you a loaf of bread, maybe Bitcoin would be generally accepted there. But right now, Bitcoin is not a money. Bitcoin is no more of a money than the babysitting credits, but, obviously the babysitting credits were just 5 couples, whereas Bitcoin is thousands of people. But still, thousands of people is not generally accepted. So Bitcoin is not yet a money, and I don't think it would be a money, obviously, if we had a good money, a free market money such as the gold standard.
Okay, and that one I wanted to round it up. This is the last question I had on the subject if you don't mind. Shanklin, Michael said that he liked it because it was pseudo-anonymous, but I'd like to, put it out there that I actually think, it's probably a trap. It's probably created by government, probably created by DARPA. It's an opportunity for a centralized power to do damage to a decentralized movement. And there is, in fact, a record of all transactions that's happening. And they're so-called encrypted, but the problem is the empire is cracking encryption already. They may not have cracked that encryption. They may have designed it from the get-go. But so what I would add is it's not anonymous. And I wanted to kind of say that what I think is at stake here, and the reason why I think it's so important, and all these issues come into play, is that for a so-called Austrian school economist or, adherent, I guess adherent would be a better word, to, in my opinion, a lot of so-called Austrians are abandoning gold and their support of gold and vehemently, supporting this token, which is what it is. And it's a token for the dollar because it's essentially backed by the dollar and the dollar's fiat. So I think it's kind of an indirect fiat benefiting by the suppression of gold. And what I'm worried about is that when it fails, when the government rounds up a group of people and said these people were dealing drugs or these people were doing this thing or that thing, the credibility of the Austrian school is going to be damaged by this. And I just don't think it's necessary. I think we all know gold works, and that fits Menger's theory. And so that's my feelings upon it. So I'd be interested on your comments on that. And thank you very much for the discussion.
Well, I'm a Mengerian. I'm an Austrian economist. I don't favor gold. It's just a shorthand. As an Austrian, I can't favor anything. It's just a positive theory. As a libertarian, I favor gold. Not so much gold, but any free market money, any money that comes through the spontaneous order of the market. And I say gold because whenever the market were free, whenever we were free to choose, the title of one of Milton Friedman's books, even though he's against gold, he was a hypocrite on this issue. Whenever we were free to choose, we chose gold and sometimes silver. So the gold standard doesn't mean that you favor gold per se. It just means you favor free market money. And to compare gold with Bitcoin is just silly. I share your views. I think that the Bitcoin is a long way second after gold. I just put it above fiat currency because fiat currency is based on fraud and violence and evil of government, whereas Bitcoin at least is not. Now, I'm not a big fan of the spontaneous order. I don't see there's anything wrong with Hayek attacked at constructivism. I'm in favor of constructivism as long as it's voluntary. So I don't oppose Bitcoin for that reason, because it wasn't a spontaneous order of the market, because it was created by, I think, some Chinese guy, but I'm not sure of that. So I I favor the Menger theory. I don't think that Bitcoin overturned Menger for reasons I gave before. It's Bitcoin isn't really a money. It's not generally accepted. But I still put it above fiat currency. If there were no such thing as gold, if there were no such thing as a free market, and there were only Bitcoin and the U.S. evil fiat currency, I would go the Bitcoin route.